you?
Yeah. Well, I was figuring that since, ooh, since we have both kind of been through it lately
Like
again,
this week,
yeah, that we had talked about how to talk about loss with kids before,
right?
but I'm where from the adult perspective now, do we fall apart? Do we have to keep it all together for the kids? What is our perspective or our role going to be with our kids? It's like because we talked about
Great, great
how we talk
question.
to them about it, but how
Great
do we
question.
handle it that we're what they see of us?
That's a great question. And um, honestly, I think that the best thing to do is to feel your feelings.
Hmm.
When you're sad, you be sad. When you're angry, the difference is that it's kind of like with anger. When I say, "Oh, you gonna be angry? You be angry. That's fine."
Right.
But the behaviors that associated with it, those are the things that you can control. Okay,
Makes
so
sense. Yeah.
you can communicate. Yes, like I'm very very sad, and
Hmm.
it's okay to cry in front of them. I mean, like that's we always give things like that a very like a negative spin and like, oh, don't cry, like, oh, don't fall apart.
Yeah, because
There's a difference between crying and being like, a puddle sobbing on the floor that, so again, some of that some of that you save for privacy. Just like when I hit my thumb with the hammer, which unfortunately is anytime I have a hammer, um, the all of the swear words that come out, like, depend if there are kids around, they come out in my head. They don't actually come out of my mouth.
see, are we supposed to have that filter? Because I mean, my kids are older, so I don't really care anymore. But I feel like I do filter it around my grandsons, but I don't know that I mean, should we filter that?
Swear words when you hit your thumb? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You say things like "ouch."
Okay.
You say things like they don't need to have the full on F word and all of
Right,
its
right,
accoutrement, but
right.
there's nothing wrong with shouting when you're in pain. I mean, like,
Okay.
the way I look at it, and I think I've told you this before. There are 5 reasons that you can yell in a house.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, the baseline of that, if you cut through all the crap, is that when we yell, we are activating our emergency broadcast system.
I like that. Yeah.
And when I yell, I'm expecting to activate your emergency response system. So if I
Gotcha.
just hurt myself, yelling is the appropriate action.
Right.
It's what I yell that I can control.
Okay. Okay, because I hear, and I'm pretty sure I do. I'm pretty sure I filter, but I don't know if that's just me being overcautious or that's what I want to believe in my little head. But I do see where there are, and let's just say younger parents who will yell, scream, have their own temper tantrum at a moment like that. But you're saying that we can actually filter that. It's not so intense that we can't filter that.
Absolutely. It
Okay.
is very much something that we can filter. And people talk about road rage. Let's, okay, do you want to, is it okay if I segue a little bit?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
isn't
Let's
exactly
pivot.
about grief, but
Right.
it's kind of on point. Road rage, okay, spoiler alert, road rage is not about rage at all.
No.
No. Road rage is that intense flash that we get when we are surprised. So it is the emotion of surprise that you are
Hmm.
reacting to, not anger. I mean, like,
Right.
you 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 have an angry response, but it's not anger that you initially felt. This is part of the anger iceberg, where
Hmm.
you're having that response, but really you were surprised,
Hmm.
and that scared you, and that pissed you off.
Right. Do you think there's some embarrassment in that too?
I think it depends on what you're road raging.
True. Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, if somebody almost cuts me off and literally my life flashed before my eyes, then I'm scared. and then I'm
Right.
mad that I was put in that position.
Right. True.
Okay. Some people road rage over, things not related to the road.
Well,
And
you honked at me, so therefore, all the birds are flying, and it's like, come on.
right, right.
But that is kind of like the grief, the stages of grief, right? Because first you have that shock and then the denial and the anger, right?
Well,
Or I don't
and
know.
that
That's not
here's
the right order.
no, okay, that's part of the problem. Whoever called it the stages of grief needs to be there's not a single stage to it. It is literally the blender of grief.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you just sit there hitting the buttons back and forth. And sometimes you just go and mash them all and you have all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Because there's very much elements of you get angry at the person for leaving you. You get angry at the situation. You get angry at
Hmm.
God. You get
Hmm.
angry at yourself for not being better or doing more.
Right.
And the bargaining, like, some people are. It's actually like, well, you know, in especially if they're grieving their own death as they're going through an illness or something. If I do
Yeah.
this, will you do that? With
Hmm.
God. That's where that comes from. But it also is that questioning of, why now? Why him? Why this? Why are we doing this?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and so since we're going through those stages, then I think it's just natural and normal for kids to see that. I don't think we have to hide it from them.
I think that it's unhealthy to hide it. I think that's one of the reasons that we Gen Xers got such a bad rap is because we had very poor modeling for us. We really are the
Ain't
generation
that
where
the
you
truth?
spit on it and suck it up and go. And, like
I'm
I,
sorry. I just had Mr. Lentz just went through my head. Spit on it,
I
suck
know.
it up, and go.
Yes, yes, that quote is credit to Mr. Joe Lentz. He was
Gosh.
the original spit on it, suck it up and go. And but we were told things like, cowboy it up or lay there and bleed.
Right.
And I was trying to think of like seeing my own parents cry as a child. And
Hmm.
I can't like ever as a child, nah,
No.
never. Even at funerals, like never.
Yes.
And
Right.
that's to me that's not the appropriate response. To
Right.
me,
But we don't want to be slushy puddles either, like drama
again,
queens.
right, exactly. It is kind of just like with the anger, or okay, we can go the other way. Happiness, like, or love. Like, I don't need to
Hmm.
see people checking out other people's tonsils. Save that for the doctor's office or the bedroom. Like, again, it's that the appropriate response and that the boundary. What is the fine line
Yeah.
of this is a reasonable response and this is way
Hmm.
over the top and now
I'm glad you said reasonable because I mean, there or that fine line, sorry, because I would never, I call it shoulding on others. I would never should on somebody about how they grieve. I can't tell you you can't grieve or you can't cry in front of your kids because, but at the same time, I think people need to know that it is healthy. It's okay to recognize that there are emotions and people get sad and let's all work through it together.
right. Well, and that's like and then we're talking about sadness and how do you well, what's a coping skill for sadness? And we actually the best coping skill is seeking comfort from people we love and who love us. And so
Mhm.
this is an opportunity for our children to learn to give some of that as well. When they see us suffering, they should,
Yeah, and
you
they're
know,
so good at it. Yeah,
they're
they
they
are.
have they have that opportunity.
Hmm.
Um, and if they're never exposed to it, then they don't learn that.
Another stolen opportunity.